This family group was in a bright spot in the 70s, with 9 magnificent brothers and stunning sisters competing for sole dominance with the Jacksons. However, they, like the DeBarge families, endured a run of crushing misfortunes as their popularity raised a storm. A series of tragic events happened to the family, including incarceration, parole violations, homelessness, mental and physical health issues, family conflict, and financial hardships. The centerpiece of today's video is all about the Sylvers family. Before we start, let's be sure to leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, and push that notification bell to be sure you won't miss out on any more uploads. Now without further ado, let's cue that intro. This story begins with parents Leon Frank Sylvers Jr., a musician from Memphis, Tennessee, and Shirley Mae Ribble, a former opera singer from Oppalicious, Louisiana. After meeting at an HBCU called Xavier University of Louisiana, the duo married. The couple had a total of 10 children, starting with Leon III, who was born on March 7th, 1943, Olympia, who was born on October 13th, 1951, Charmaine, who was born on March 9th, 1954, James, who was born on June 8th, 1955, Edmund, who was born on January 25th, 1957, Joseph, who was born on October 13th, 1958, Angela, who was born on April 11th, either in 1959 or 1960, Patricia, who was born on March 25th, 1961, Foster, who was born on February 25th, 1962, and Christopher, who was born on August 10th, 1966. Their parents taught them everything they know, from singing, dancing, to playing instruments. Their parents encouraged the children to sing, and with this, the older 3 was encouraged to enter local talent shows. The oldest 3 performed together under the name The Little Angels, and the trio mostly sang Caribbean calypso-style soul music. The trio appeared in several variety shows, charity shows, community events, and other public venues. One of the first events that promoted the group was when the entire family participated on the game show You Bet Your Life. Soon after, younger brother James joined the group, and the 4 of them proceeded to play where they had some success. Following that, the group was featured on various TV shows. This gained them the attention, and the group signed a deal with Capitol Records in the mid-60s, and they issued a numerous of singles. The group soon changed their names to the Sylvers in the late 60s after adding Edmund and Joseph to the group. Following that, the group signed with MGM subsidiary label Pride Records. They released the album The Sylvers under Pride in 1972, which peaked at 180 on the Billboard 200 charts and number 15 on the Billboard Top R&B Albums charts. This album was also produced by Jerry Butler. The group's second album, The Sylvers 2, was released in 1973, and it peaked at 164 on the Billboard 200 charts and number 37 on the Billboard Top R&B Albums charts. The group had many singles on these albums, such as I'm Just a Lonely Soul,
Give me just a little time to be somebody.
Time to Ride,
Sleep on, little darling. Don't you open up your eyes.
Fool's Paradise,
That is not for me, I tell you, yeah. I'm high society.
Wish I Could Talk to You,
I played on your love.
Stay Away From Me, and Through the Love in My Heart.
It's as strong as a wall of stone.
In 1974, the group released their third album under MGM called The Sylvers 3, which peaked at number 91 on the Billboard 200 charts and number 51 on the Billboard Top R&B Albums charts. Now, sometime in 1971, the group was joined by their younger brother Foster, and in 1974, they released the single I Aim to Please.
It's got to be completely.
The group established themselves as young notable performers, earning their way back to Capitol Records in 1975. By this point, their younger siblings had joined the group, making them a total of 9 members. During their time with Capitol, they was assigned to primarily work with producer Freddie Curran, who had previously worked with the Jackson 5. They then released the album Showcase, which was their most successful album that had peaked at number 58 on the Billboard 200 charts and number 23 on the Billboard Top R&B Albums charts. This was followed by charting singles like Cotton Candy,
Sweet tooth, that's hard to satisfy when I'm short on
Hotline,
For your love, baby, 'cause I'm burning up like a house on
and Boogie Fever.
boogie fever. I think it's
That following year, they released a 5th album titled Something Special, which peaked at number 80 on the Billboard Top 200 charts and number 13 on the Billboard Top R&B Albums charts. This album was followed by the single High School Dance.
you never had to worry.
if you save your lunch money so you'll have.
By the group's 5th album was published, original member Charmaine had left the group. In the summer of 1977, the group decided not to retain with Parrin, and they began to compose and producing themselves as they believed it would help them reach a wider audience. Olympia left the group due to her having children, leaving the group with just 7 members. That same year, they released a 6th album, and this was the first album that was written and produced by members of the group. This album was called New Horizons, that peaked at 134 on the Billboard 200 charts and number 43 on the Billboard Top R&B Albums charts. This album had 2 charted singles with Any Way You Want Me
'Cause you're the kind of girl that brings out all the joy and happiness.
and New Horizons.
I got to make my mark in life.
This album was mainly produced by older brother Leon, and the group began working on their 7th album. Now, when their 7th album was recorded and complete, Capitol Records executives didn't like the group's new sound, so they released them from their contract. The group shopped around the material before signing to Casablanca Records in mid-1978. At the same time, Leon, he was hired as an in-house producer for Dick Griffey's new label, Solo Records. With his siblings' new album complete and with them landing a new deal, Leon decided to depart from the group to write and produce for Solar. Leon is credited for writing and producing music for a variety of artists including Shalimar, The Whispers, Lakeside, and Dynasty, to name a few. The group released 2 albums with their new label, with Forever Yours, that peaked at 132 on the Billboard 200 charts and number 40 on the Billboard Top R&B Albums charts. Disco Fever, that peaked at number 52 on the Billboard Top R&B Albums charts. Now, throughout the rest of the 70s, the group only had 1 charted single with Don't Stop Get Off. They also had more singles from the 70s that didn't chart, but I feel like they should have, including Forever Yours,
Until the oceans dry right up. Girl, I will never get.
and Mahogany.
Do you get what you're hoping for when you look behind you?
The group's success declined when the world's thirst for dance music began to wane in the 80s, and by 1981, the group had shrunk to only 5 members. Around this time, the group parted ways with Casablanca Records and joined Solo Records. They released their 9th album titled Concept that peaked at number 92 on the Billboard 200 charts and number 76 on the Billboard Top R&B Albums charts. This album was produced by their older brother Leon. However, they sole charted single during this period was the song Come Back Lover, Come Back. The group took a 3-year break, and by 1984, they returned with now 6 members with a returning Charmaine. The group released a final album called Bizarre. Now, the group's final run was through Geffen Records. This album had 2 charted singles with In One Love and Out the Other. And Falling for Your Love.
My dream baby.
Christopher, their youngest sibling, who was never a member of the performing family, sadly passed away of hepatitis on June 18, 1985 at the age of 18. Since the late 70s, the group's sales has been poor, and a label decided to let them go from their contract. By 1985, the group separated, and the siblings continued to perform as solo musicians, playing and singing background vocals for singers such as Janet Jackson, to mention a few. Edmund recorded a solo album for Arista Records in 1985, but it was never released in the United States. He also has been linked to dating singer Freddie Payne. He also provided Marlon Jackson's voice on the ABC show The Jackson 5 from 1971 to 1973. Edmund sadly passed away of lung cancer on March 11, 2004 at the age of 47. In 1989, Foster founded his own group called High Tech. Foster was convicted of a sex crime in 1994 and was in prison, and he is now registered as a sex offender in the state of California. The Sylvers are one of the greatest soul music families of all time. They, like the DeBarges and the Jacksons, all endured tragedies that they all had to overcome. Aside from Michael Jackson's stardom, which family do you think is the best? The Jacksons, the Barges, the Isley brothers, the Pointer Sisters, the Emotions, or the Sylvers? If you know any other family groups that I failed to mention, please drop them in the comments below. Now, before we leave, I have one last question for you guys. What is your favorite song from the Sylvers?